And then I would also say, like, it's time to start. You have to start as soon as you know you want to work in sports. Go to your athletic administration, see if you can work in the sports comm department, see if you can work with, I always say starting with Olympic sports is a great way to do it. The only reason I'm on TV is because I started with volleyball. The very first game I did on TV was an Alabama women's volleyball game match. You know what I mean? So softball's on TV, gymnastics is on TV, volleyball's on, swimming, diving, track. You know what I mean? Like, don't just think that you're trying to hit a home run and you're going to start working in football and men's basketball. And that's where it's at. Because honestly, there's other ways to break into sports.
Yeah, for sure. I would say intern as much as you can while you're in school, because those post-grad internships, one, they're expensive, especially like if you're not fortunate enough to have the means or the backing behind you to pick up and move across the country for those post-grad internships. But I would try, definitely just try your best to intern as much as possible, with that being like on your campus or just anywhere at a local TV station around. So that would be definitely try your athletic department, because they're always looking for interns to come help out with like any small things that you need.
And all you got to do is reach out. It's like an email. Just pull up the staff directory and send an email.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what else we got. Oh, I think this one's for you, Maria. Do you think you will get to the point where you will want to work for one sports organization, college or pro, rather than ESPN?
Ooh, good question. I always say that I have like a backup plan. So in my mind, being on television can seem temporary. Like, I think of my career as a professional athlete, like it's going to have a peak and eventually it's going to come back down as everyone's, appetite is probably just younger and whatever, as women, we get older and it doesn't seem like our careers last as long.
Yeah.
So in my mind, I did go back and get my master's, but I could go back to the University of Georgia, work in athletic administration, or be a professor of media, because I know that I had really great professors that actually worked at CNN or worked in cable television. And I felt like that helped me along the way. So totally, I could see another career doing that. I would love that.
We ain't never sitting down.
Ever.
This one's gonna be good for us, girl. We might be preaching on this one.
Okay.
How do you go about creating a network and support group as a Black woman in your field?
Go ahead, girl. Start it.
I guess in my field, within the NFL specifically, it's kind of hard with what I do. I didn't realize that I was the only one doing it till like last year, when this whole photo broke out and raised hell. But and I think that just became an opportunity with wanting to try to bring more Black women and try to open the door for many Black women to get more of us here. And I think just branching out, obviously there's Black women in the NBA, in other leagues, and not even just in sports, just within sports in general, like a couple agents that I talk to, coaches, other reporters and stuff like that. So I try to build a network with not just people that you would compete against or in your career field, but also just women in general, who are doing anything. That's super important. My friends, I'm the only person in my friend group who does social media, so they never know what I'm talking about. They just know when I send a tweet from work, they be like, "Yes, girl, it's lit." And I be like, "All right, y'all don't know what I'm doing, but it's okay." But it's just that type of support that goes in handy when you need it. So, what about you?
Yeah, it is difficult because I was just telling someone the first time that I've ever worked with a Black female producer has been on the NBA, or a coordinating producer where she runs the actual sport or a show that you're on. Her name's Amanda Hussein. We ran to each other oh, we get to work together. This is so dope. It just never happens. but I've had a feature producer when I was in Charlotte, and that was cool. And I think what happens is you end up latching on to each other. So you never stop communicating. You never stop supporting each other. Like, we just check in, like, how are you doing? And we just joke like, oh, we got to put our S on our chest. You know what I mean? We always say we have our cape on, and, you know, we understand when she says that, she's like, I understand I got to work harder and I can't make mistakes. And like, we are judged by the same expectations, and deliver. And we talk about those things. And I think it's important, because if you don't validate the struggle, your struggle, then you're going to feel like it's invisible to you. So you should try to surround yourself with people that understand it. And then, I mean, obviously we're talking about Black women, but one of my good friends is Holly Rowe. Like, there's a struggle of just being a woman. She's been doing it for 25 years. So there's sometimes when I'm just like, girl, did you ever look back and say like that was wrong or something? You know what I mean? And to hear her walk through her stories and her scenarios and how she looks at things, like, that just makes it easier to deal with sometimes. You know what I mean? To not feel like you're the only one going through it. But yeah, we latch on. It's like a spider web. Like, you know exactly Astasia's over here. Let me connect you with her. Like, you know, we reach out to each other and we're just like, there's some girl I just need you to meet and just talk to her and figure that out. You know?
And eventually the network grows that way. Let's see what we got. How do you bring your authentic self to your jobs / careers? My boss tells me all the time he knows like what he got into when he hired me, so he hasn't tried to change me or try to control what I need to be in order to make my job work and the brand work. So I think that part is also important. Having support from your direct to just let you be is super important. And I'm blessed for that. But I also struggle trying to know, I guess not necessarily code switch, because I do code switch, but it's just knowing when there's a right time for everything, you know? So like you and I will have our conversations, which is pretty much more lax, but like now some things like I wouldn't say here. So it's kind of just like the same thing within my job, but trying to bring my authentic self is like just making sure that I'm focused on who I am, who I want to be, and just making sure like that job doesn't change me.
Right. Yeah. And I think too, like, some people think that maybe they're not being authentic at work, but sometimes maybe they're just being a professional. Right. So like, there's some things that we have to change because we're in a different setting. Like, if I'm at church, I'm still being my authentic self in church, but like, I'm not going to cuss there. You know what I mean? And so like, there are some versions of that obviously we bring to work. But I've always said, when you're looking to be on TV or working in sports media, like, you have to be yourself, because as soon as someone turns on the TV, they're going to know if you're faking and they're not going to like it. They're not going to know why they don't like it, but they're like, I don't know, there's something phony about that person, or I don't like the way they talk. And maybe that's because they're pretending to be someone else. And, you know, there's always that quote that's like, you might as well be yourself because everyone else is taken. Like, you have to find a way to be comfortable in your own skin. And sometimes even when I'm not comfortable, and you know, Saja, that I've been uncomfortable in situations before or whatever, but I fake it till I make it. You know what I mean? Or I'm going to continue trying outgoing. Yeah, exactly. But there's going to be times when things are uncomfortable, but you can't let what you think someone else would do or how someone else would sound dictate, you know, how you act or perform. And there's been a couple of times when like I've taken over SEC Nation or going into the college game day role. Part of me wants to go and look at the film of who did that job before. Like, part of me wants to go and see exactly how Joe Tessitore hosted SEC Nation. And the other part of me is like, don't do that. Like, because then you're not going to authentically be you. You're going to be trying to do what he did. You know what I mean? Like, we can't be worried about it. You can't go into your new job with the Redskins and try to be the last social media person. You know what I mean? Because your voice is going to be uniquely different. And that's why we were hired. That's why we're put in these places. So we got to remember that sometimes.
Facto. How did you translate your personal social media experience to a professional one? My personal social media, I say this all the time. I keep my personal social media as what it is, my personal. I say, if you want anything work related that I'm doing, go follow wherever I'm working. I'm on a social media team, so 9 times out of 10, like, my hand is being in that pot for something. So like, just go there. So like, I try to keep my personal social to me. I have the views are mine in my bio, just so people know, like, hey, like, I know you probably follow me because of what I do, but this is where we're going to joke. We're going to get music. We're going to get all that. And I think that's ultimately why I got my job now, just because that I'm bringing that different voice, that different twang, and just, staying on to the trend. So I just bring that to work, and I got hired for it. So I'm going to keep it.
Love it. And full disclosure to all of you guys, once a year I ask her to take over my Twitter. Like, please just do it for me. Like, you're so funny and cute and on top of things. And I'm like, I just want to go to sleep. I'm like, I need someone who's watching things.
And we've done that a couple times.
Literally, yeah. Like, it's like every 6 months-ish, she'll have the keys to the car. But for me, it's interesting because, like, you have to represent a lot of different things. So there might be times when I have to use my social media to do, some sales or to promote college game day or whatever. So there's a mixture of it. I don't think that I get to always bring my authentic self to social media. Probably the closest you'll get is my Instagram stories. I'm not that great at Twitter. That's the truth. That's why I try to get Astasia to do it for me every 6 months. But I try to make sure that whatever I do put out there, you know what I mean? Like, when I look back, I'm not going to feel bad about it or whatever. But if I didn't do what I do, I might not be on social media, to be honest.
You would.
Because I'm just bad. I'm not good at it. I'm good at stories. I'm good at Instagram. But I can't do anything else. So I need your help.
You would literally go ghost, and we would not know, like, what are you doing? Like,
right. Like, you would know I painted this room.
Oh my gosh. Let's see. What was your first what was your first internship, and what was it like? Did you learn valuable skills that you still use today from that internship?
Okay, good question. So my first internship was when I was a senior in college, and I did it my spring semester. So it was like the last semester I had where we didn't have volleyball. I finished up that season, and I would drive back and forth to Fox Sports South. So literally, this is how I got the internship. I had a game. Fox Sports South was putting it on air. The analyst came and, like, interviewed us or whatever. And I was like, how do you work there? Like, how do you get a job there? Mm-hmm. And it was like, well, if you want an internship, maybe you could email my boss or whatever. She gave me the email. I reached out to the boss, and he was like, sure, come up for an interview. And that's literally how I got it, just like asking questions or whatever. And it was great. Like, I would go up there twice a week. We would work Hawks games. We would work some Braves games. I shadowed, Cassie Hubbard was actually there working the SEC, like, weekly show. And they let me do, like, a student spotlight story on Tony Dungy going to Athens and doing something with the Georgia football team. So I learned a lot. But the biggest thing that I did learn probably was, like, if you don't, closed mouths don't get fed. You know what I mean? So if I didn't ask to get the internship, one, that wouldn't happen. Two, once you got there, you had to keep asking. You had to be like, oh, can I meet with you, the vice president? And then can I meet with you, the president? And can you look at my resume tape? And then can I shadow you? I would go to the camera guys and be like, I know you're going to the game. Can I just carry your bags? And then be able to go to the games with them, and stuff like that. So it's you got to be a self-starter in sports. And I definitely learned that doing the internship there, because they would have been fine with me just, like, re-racking tapes. That's what I wanted to do.
My first internship was at a TV station in Baton Rouge. I think, like, the first summer I didn't really do much. It was mainly, like, watching a lot and just practicing stand-ups when we finished. But then, like, for the next 3 years of college, when I came back home, I would go right back, and, like, every year, it was like something new. And I think my last year, that's where I met you at SEC Media Days. So, like, every year it was just progressing to something new. I learned how to find stories. I learned how to shoot and produce and do the whole, like, Avid stuff, and then do, like, the rundown for, like, the producer sheet and stuff like that. So, like, if I wanted to get in TV, I could, but I'm gonna leave that to everybody else to do, and I'm gonna just tweet about it. Yeah, so it was good. And that, to be honest, like, that kicked off my career, because I met a lot of people from, like, LSU and Southern and the different high schools that we went to that I didn't meet from my dad. So it was good. It was good. Let's see. What is a good way to start networking? Is it all right to try to send a LinkedIn connection to start a relationship with a professional?
Oh, you froze for a second. Come again?
Oh, it said, what is a good way to start networking? Is it all right to try to send a LinkedIn message to start a relationship with a professional? Yeah, I mean,
Yep.
yeah, I mean, because for me, at least for me, like I don't turn my DMs on Twitter, unless like I follow you or you follow me, and I just see LinkedIn as a place for that, to network. I mean, I'm pro LinkedIn. I know some people aren't, but listen, if you want to connect with me professionally, that's pretty much where to go. Um, and then I would say, like, obviously we can't now, but like start going to conferences. Yeah, I don't know how we're going to do that this time, but I
I
mean,
know.
obviously,
I get Zoom calls, maybe.
yeah, I guess things like this can work with networking too.
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
That's the best way. And I think too, like sometimes there's this fear, and there is, you can overwhelm someone with emails, but like there's time, if you send me an email in the middle of a season, I might not get back to you until 3 months later, but I might get back to you. So,
yeah,
don't feel like you've reached out. It's like, oh, I just keep hitting dead ends. You never know when it's going to
yeah,
work out, or that one person is going to get back to you and have an answer for you. So
yeah.
it's a job.
Yeah,
Networking
'cause
is a job.
I see the emails, y'all. I'm like
Mm.
so bad at replying. I'm
Yeah.
like terrible at replying at text.
I've been getting really good, like over quarantine time. I've been like, let me get these emails. Like, yes, I will join your podcast.
Yes,
Like,
absolutely.
absolutely. Nothing else. But yes.
Yes, but I see the emails and I will try like my best to get back.
Someone asked for good conferences, NABJ, National Association of Black Journalists.
Yeah. Hashtag sports is a little expensive and probably like too professional, but if there's like other people who are like vets in the biz, I would try hashtag sports definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see what else we got. Oh, this is a good one. How do you decompress and step away from social media when it's your job?
All you, girl.
Girl, well, let me tell you, when I say I go to bed at 9 o'clock, I'm going to bed. Like it's just sometimes you just have to you have to force yourself to just log off and just walk away. Like make sure like your directs or whoever you're working with knows like, hey, like I'm walking away at this time. This will be done at this time. And then you just leave. Like I know like sometimes like most of the trends don't hit at night. Like it will be a couple of those times where you got to adjust and be like, just want to kind of jump in the social media trend. But no, if I don't have to and I don't see no use for us to be included, then nah. Like sometimes you just got to just know when to just say no, like log off truly.
Right.
Obviously like in the beginning of your career it's hard to do because you're trying to prove yourself, you're trying to just make sure that people know that you deserve to be there. At the same time, like if you lose your mind and you have to go away, they're gonna replace you in a heartbeat. So make sure you're taking care of yourself always. Yeah, so that's my answer for that. Do you want to hop in or
Yeah, still, I do feel like social media is a little bit of a job, not in the same way that it is for you. But I know that there's times like I'll finish up a game or something and I'm like, oh, I need to finish my story.
yeah,
Like I was in the stadium, so I couldn't do that, or I wanted to get one tweet out at the end of the game. And I try to, once I'm done with that, then I'm going to let Sunday be like I'm not, or I might post one thing, but walk away and not go back and try to be in my own comments or trying to read something. So I know that Sunday's a day that I'm usually off, or I'll try to, when you're starting to stress out or
right.
you're starting to feel that you need to step away. And so when I feel that, I really do just like, sometimes my mom has to remind me, she's like, if you don't go retweet somebody, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to do that.
Call it a day.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, hey, Victoria. Thanks, girl. For both of you, how do you continue to learn more in your roles and challenge yourself to grow?
Good question.
I would say like today we tweeted out a thread. Well, I tweeted out, I'll take the L because it was my idea. It sucked. But we tweeted out a thread about quarantine snacks and comparing them to NFL teams. and it was a bust. Our fans were like, yo, delete your account. Like, this is trash. And it was like overwhelming to the point where like there was no good comments. So I was just like, all right, I'm deleting this. It's okay. It's all right. But like those are moments where I just be like, aha, okay. So like I'm listening to our fans more and just seeing what they want. And I think that helps me with accountability, self-awareness, and just reading the room a little bit. So that kind of helped me, and that's a challenge, I guess, in social media, period, where you just got to know your consumer. So
yeah, I know for me, there are still things that you see, like you're a vet, but there's still things that I get nervous about. Like even today, we were doing an IG live with Nick Saban, and I'm like leading up to it, I still felt nervous. And it's like, you interview coaches all the time, you talk to people all the time, but it's like, yeah, but now that's an IG TV and it's like FaceTime. I don't know, this is different. Like, how do I make sure that I'm clicking the right things and he's going to log on and da-da-da-da. Right. And it's just like, but that's me challenging myself. You know what I mean? Like we could sit here and do nothing or whatever, but I'm like, okay, I'm going to push to try and get some interviews or try to figure out another way to still be working, or taking on, doing the NBA job. Like, yeah, when I first sat down in that seat, like I didn't feel like I was ready. Two, I felt like the fans were going to be like, she's college football, or like, we don't even know who she is. So why is she here talking about the NBA? But you got to you got to push that comfort zone, and you do have to try new things. Like you just said, like even doing that thread, that's fine. It was a bust, but next time what you might do differently. And I definitely feel that way sometimes, or I might I'll ask a question or something like that. I'm like, okay, that didn't hit, but maybe next time I'll phrase it like this or whatever. Or I didn't feel like this show was good because of XYZ. Like next time, let me try something else. I thought that would be great, but it wasn't. Like, leave it alone. Yeah. And so you just got to keep pushing the boundaries, be uncomfortable.
Yeah. Let's see. What advice do you have for college seniors who are graduating at a time of uncertainty like this, but want to work in sports?
Y'all got a Bible? Yeah, go get one of those and read it.
Pray.
Praise him. Okay? No, but don't you feel like sometimes I still don't actually know how I got here per se. And so a lot of it is just like having faith in your abilities, having faith in exactly where you are. So if you're in school in a certain area and this one friend that does that, and for that reason this door is open, you got to just walk through it and walk through in faith and trust your skill set, and just know that you're going to end up exactly where you're supposed to be. Yeah. Like right now might be a difficult time, but that everyone's going through it. You know what I mean? So that every college senior is having the same feeling that you have right now. So don't get discouraged. It's just now's the time to push a little bit harder. And then we all know that when we come out of this, everyone's going to want to watch sports. Everyone's going to be talking about sports. People are going to be hiring again in sports. It's just, this is a valley, but there's going to be peaks again for sure.
Yeah, sorry, y'all. We are two Southern Black women who were raised in a Baptist church, so we gonna bring God into every situation.
You better have faith. I got faith, hope, love, and joy on my wall.
Listen, amen. Okay. I mean, like she said, don't give up. Have faith, because as you see, sports is not going to stop. ESPN is putting a horse tournament on TV right now. Okay. So it's these things it's distracting, it's troubling. You're just like, what am I going to do? I need a job. Honestly, it's going to be tough because there's a lot of vets out here who are losing their jobs too. And so you're going to be in competition with them, but use this time to really brush up on your skills. Build those websites. I hate to sound like grind Twitter right now, but trust me, I'm not that person, but I'm just saying make sure that, when we are out of this, you are prepared, to get those jobs, because they're going to come open. Sports isn't going to go away. It's just a time of pause right now. So take care of yourself, but also make sure you're handling.
And by the way, Don't you always think too that sometimes in the tough times, like when people are looking to make cuts, a lot of times it's people who have been in the industry for a long time and have started
Right.
to make a lot of money, and so they start looking for this next age of individuals who can do everything and
Yeah.
that are well versed in social media and this and can edit and can do. So be that person, like be
Yeah.
that person that's available, like your skills are ready. You might not have experience, but you know how to do it, and you'll figure things out because like jobs like that are gonna come open too.
Yeah. Like I'm having to learn TikTok. I hate TikTok. I'm 25 years old. I don't want to do TikTok. Like
Oh
I
my
want
God,
us to just
25.
literally hire an intern to just run this TikTok page. But it's
And
just
I'm trying
something
to
that
hire you. I'm 32 and I'm like, and I don't do Twitter. And I'm like, I need to hire you to run my Twitter.
I'm just trying to tell you. So it's just certain things that you just got to do. So like if there's something that you don't know, definitely use this time to get ready for that. Oh, y'all coming with the questions, okay? Um, let's see, Brittany. You're welcome. We're happy to do this. She says she wants to make a switch um, to sports. She wants to be like a social media manager.
Okay. That's all you.
Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to make sure. I mean, as I I pretty much did the same thing coming out of school. I was going to work at Sporting News as an internship to be a writer and help with their social media and stuff like that eventually. But I mean, pretty much social media is the same thing. It's just different organizations, right? So if you want to get in sports, I would advise you to look up the SM social media sports hashtag SM Sports, Jesus. And like literally join the conversation in there. People talk about ideas, people post jobs within that. And if you ever just see something that catches your eye from that hashtag, like definitely like talk to those people, DM those people. I DM people all the time in our profession, just like, how did y'all do this? Like, what did y'all do to get this video? How are you doing these graphics? Literally all the time. I ask questions all the time. So that's pretty much it. You love to work for a college or pro team. Those jobs, like I will tell you, like they're super hard to get. If you see an internship opening for them, like definitely like use this time to apply to just get your foot in the door so you can get to know those people. And that way, like when a job comes open, like you're there and you're ready. So that would be my advice for that. Maria, should we go to the next question?
Sure.
Let's
Hashtag SMS Sports. I was like, I need to like get involved.
Girl, they literally be acting a fool in there. There's some talented people.
Really?
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, how do you handle situations or times when men do not take you seriously as a woman in such a male-dominated industry?
So I always have a hard time answering this question. And I think part of it is because I'm 6'2", so I wish someone would act like they could dominate me in anything. No, I'm just kidding. But I feel that way for real. I think, like, honestly, if you're coming into sports, you can't come from a space of, oh, this is how I'm going to be treated, or like they're going to say this and that to me. Like, you really can't feel that way. The most I've ever felt excluded is there's been times when we would have meetings with coaches or something and say you walk in and they'll introduce themselves or say hey to everyone that they've worked with before and all the guys and not say anything to me. And then I would have to get up and be like, hi, and I'm Maria. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And that was when I was first starting and getting into college. And that is, I mean, that's tough being the only one in the room and feeling like you have to assert yourself, but do I want to be too assertive? Like you want them to like you because you got to continue to be around. But at the same time, people will treat you the way that, you treat yourself. So if you respect yourself and you move in a way that's like, listen, don't mess with me. Or if you do, like, come with me on some work stuff, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And if you know what you're talking about from the beginning, or you're adding value the way that you should, because you know you're supposed to be there, then really no one should treat you as if you're, second, third, or fourth in the race of sports. But the thing that you do have to get over and deal with personally, and it is going to be an internal struggle, I don't think that anyone can make me feel less than. Like, and I think that every woman in this chat, or hopefully who wants to get into sports, you have to decide that now. No one else is going to ever make me feel less than. No man, no situation, no whatever. I have to get it. Now I can decide that I feel like I'm less than in this situation. I can lose my confidence, but that's on me, and I can build that back up. And those are the, the things that you have to get ready for, but it's certainly not going to be easy. If sports is what you want, recognize you might be the only one, and figure out now how you're going to deal with that, how you're going to build that confidence, and I know you've been through situations like that too, and it's very difficult, but you have to decide that you want to be in control of, who's going to be affecting your psyche.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, even just recently, like somebody asked, like, oh, like, how'd you get in football? Like, do you even know football? Like, sir, first of all, my father was a high school football coach for 20 years in Louisiana. Like, I lived at the field house. So yes, I know football.
Yes, I do. Thank you.
Thank you. Would you like for me to draw you a play? I can do that. So like, I've been in those situations, and at some point, like it bothered me when I first started my career and wanted to get involved in sports, but obviously just being around my dad, he's like, hey, like, we don't have time for that. Like, you know what you're good at. You don't want to spend your time trying to prove to people that you belong, because that's where the exhaustion kicks in. Like, that's where you're just like, yo, you're working overdrive, and that's where you get stressed. And it's like, it's not called for. Like, you're there for a reason. The only people that you need to prove that you need to be there is yourself and your direct and the people who sign your paycheck. That's it. Like, everybody else is just, like, they're either fans or haters, but those are all fans to me. So that's what it is. So that's my answer to that. Let's see.
That was like I've been watching Scandal back. I feel like that was our Olivia Pope Associates moment. We are gladiators, okay?
Look, I'm trying to tell you. Let's see. How do you continue to find ways to be creative when working for a team or organization who really isn't open for change or trying new things? I think that's kind of just where you get creative on your own. I know a bunch of people who have their own personal blogs and try to freelance just to keep their creative juices flowing, just for that reasoning. Because even though that you work for a team or organization who may not really be open to change or want to try new things, you can still learn from that, because you can take what you're learning from there when they're constantly just saying no, no, no. Find out why they're saying no. Because obviously there's something there. So you remember that, and you just take it to your next stop, and you're just like, okay, such and such didn't want to do this. This is why, but maybe it'll work for here. Because I mean, sometimes there are places that just like don't want to just be different. They just want to stay the same.
Yeah, and I remember, or a good example that I have of this is the Taylor road trip. So, me and Holly were trying to go on the road and visit, 7 camps or whatever. And we really wanted to have ESPN be a part of it and make sure that we were doing sports center check-ins and all this stuff. And so the first time we pitched it, I think like maybe our vision wasn't very clear. Like, we were like, okay, this is what we want to do. This is kind of what it looks like, whatever. And our boss was like, yeah, sure, go do that. And we literally did it on our own, and we basically posted on our social media. We worked with the editor that's in Miami that I know, and he put together these little clips. So it was almost like we had our own little show. And it was fun and it was informative, because we were already going on these camp visits anyway to prepare for college football. And then because we kind of did it on our own and showed what it looked like gave the vision, some actual appeal, like you could see it, you could hold it. Then the next year, we had a producer with us, every single stop, sports
everybody was ready.
You know what I mean? So sometimes you do have to just go show and prove, because it is, and I know that they're constantly, remember, our bosses or whoever you're working for might be getting inundated with ideas. Everyone's trying to prove something, and everyone wants to own a little bit of content, and content is king and all of that stuff. So just know that sometimes you are going to have to go the extra mile. And again, we came out of pocket for that and traveled on our own and just used our relationships to do it. And it turned into something. So it's possible still.
Cool. Maria, this one is specifically for you. How big of a difference was the NBA job in comparison to game day?
Ooh, It was a big difference. And I kind of mentioned it already. Like I was nervous about it because I was just like, okay. And I've hosted things before. I always have to go back and I'm like, listen, you hosted the women's basketball tournament. You've been here. You've done that. But every time I start a new sport or like and put into a new situation, I enter into it confidently, but I swear underneath, I'm like, oh, am I really ready for this? Mm-hmm. And I think one of the big things for me was my biggest fear is to not be prepared. And so I felt as though I was entering into this in the middle of college football season and trying to balance game day and our night game. And then now we insert NBA countdown. And I'm like, and I think that I have to know the entire book of basketball before I sit down in that seat. And I think I had to go back and give myself a little grace and be like, you don't have to know the book of basketball. You have to know today's show. You need to understand what episode 001 looks like, how to tee up Paul Pierce, how to tee up Jalen Rose, right, and how to tee up Jay Will, and the rest will come. And I think when I settled into that, it was better. And then obviously the roles are different. For College Game Day, I'm more of a reporter role, bringing in a little bit more of the atmosphere and environment and doing interviews and stuff like that. And so when you're a host, you have to have a bigger understanding of what is the goal of this show, or what are we trying to dig out of every single conversation, and how can I add in nuggets or context to whatever my guys are talking about. So there's a lot of, I think there's more work even that goes into that 1 hour show than maybe the prep that I have to do for the 3 hour College Game Day. And part of that too is familiarity, but yeah, it was interesting when we first started.
Superstar is what I call her. Let's see.
Gladiators.
Amen. Advice on self-promoting yourself in work when it's something that's outside of your comfort zone. I mean, I still struggle to promote myself. You can ask my friends. It was a struggle for me to promote this Zoom call. Honestly, like literally, I sent the tweet and like I sent my friend a video of my hand literally shaking. Like, and I was like, "Girl, what am I doing? Why am I doing this?" So, but it's just something that I wanted to try. I wanted to just talk to more people and try to help somebody else out. So it's just like something that you just gotta just do, like, and this is exciting. It's not something that I normally do because I'm like really introverted. So this is, you know, really just me putting myself out there. So, I mean, I'm still learning how to do it, and I'm like 4 years in of my career now. But it doesn't get easier, I can tell you that, but it's just something that you have to do when you want to get to higher places.
Yeah, I'm trash at it, I think. I'm good at like, look at this game that we just did or this show or whatever, but if it was something that was like me specific, I do have a little bit of a harder time with that, or it just takes me longer. Like I'll just sit on a post like I want to say something but I don't know, and then I'll put it down and come back, or like even the IG live session with Saban, like I just like waited and waited. I was like, well, what if it doesn't happen, or like what if something else, or you know, people don't want to hear that, like I don't want to post it. Yeah. And that was because that's how I felt, because it seemed like it wasn't a game or it wasn't an event that I could promote. It wasn't like all just ESPN, you know what I mean? It's like you kind of have to promote the fact that you're doing an interview. Yeah. Like, what does that look like? So yeah, I get that. It feels weird, but you got to do it. You really do. It's the world we live in.
This one is more for me. When your foot is already in the door at a pro team, what advice in staying in this industry? We were literally just talking about this before everyone logged on. So when I left the NFL, I went to MLS, and just full transparency, I probably wanted to cry every day, just because like literally when I made the decision and I was talking to my friends, it's like, why am I leaving the NFL and National Football League to go work for a soccer team? Like, why am I doing it? Why? But it's just something that I realized like I had to do. I had to get that little manager experience, even though it was only for 6 months, and it brought me to DC. God works in mysterious ways, and like he knew like at this time like it was time for me to go. Like a lot of the doors were shutting for me at the place that I was at, and it was just like, all right, you know, obviously my time is up here. I did what I needed to do. It's time for me to move on. And God showed out truly, because he got me back to the league and then some. And I'm happy about it. I can tell you, I probably won't leave again, just because like getting jobs in the NFL is not easy. And like, like Bob will stay in the NFL for 25 years and he will never leave. And what he'll do, he'll just bring his son or daughter right up in this door and the cycle will continue, So, and it's like, I have a vision for what I want to do within this league. And that's probably one of them, is trying to stop that and hopefully try to bring somebody else. And then that person can bring somebody else in. So try to make it a trickle down effect. So, like, that's pretty much my advice. I know some people advise don't hold yourself to a job or industry, but I know, like, for me, I found out early, like, hey, I want to stay here. I want to do my thing. I want to see what I can do here. And if something, changes within that journey, then like, so be it. But if you want to be somewhere, stay there, but yeah, but
it's funny you say
like travel a little bit.
Right. But that part about like you had to get the manager experience is so crucial. So sometimes, you take a job and you think to yourself, like, why did I do that?
Yeah.
And to be honest, I felt that way. So when I left what I was doing with ESPN, so say I had a full package of college football games and I had a full package of women's basketball and I was doing volleyball and like all to the, national championship or Sweet 16 level. And then the SEC network comes along and no one knew what that was when we first signed on for it. Like we kind of did, but kind of did it. Like, is it regional? How many people are really going to be able to see it? Like, is it only in Georgia and Tennessee or something like that? And so when I took the job, I was like, oh man, like now I'm not doing ESPN football games anymore on ESPN and ABC. Like, did I really make the right decision? And now I'm doing like SEC softball and baseball tournaments. And I'm like, and I'm terrible at, bat and ball sports. Like, I just feel like I'm so bad at it. I remember being at the SEC championship game, like crying on the set. Like, I just am not good. I don't know this sport. But what happened is, in the same way you got that manager experience, it gave me the hosting experience. And to the point now where if you put me on a desk and we had to do the World Series or whatever, I could figure it out.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy that I had that experience, and it was difficult. And like you said, like every day you just want to cry, and had to move to Charlotte and you're completely uncomfortable. But sometimes it's like that jump over there that ends up going up. Or if you just stay where you are and like you stay comfortable, like you might get there, but sometimes it's like ends up being a leaps and bounds, just because you go into another role or you go into another league like you did.
Yeah. Let's see. What's the worst piece of career advice you've received? I just I roll my eyes because a lot of there's people in I guess I would say in my industry that just claim to be experts and they just shoot off the mouth like all this advice and what not to do and what to do. And I just think that it wasn't just one piece of advice that I received. It's just like, because I really pick and choose who I want to receive advice from. Like, if it's not Maria, it's not my official mentor, it's not my parents or like people, my close friends, like I'm not listening to it. So I'm sorry, Courtney, I don't have like the worst piece of career advice for you, but I would just say like, really be careful who you choose to get advice from, and like where you see this advice, and like it, because everyone talks from like their own certain of privilege, and that's what I've noticed. So just be aware of where everyone is speaking from when you're getting advice, and I guess because that's how you deter it. So that just
I can't think of the worst one either, but when you hear it you're like, I'm not going to do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think there's two opposite ends of a spectrum that you can get advice, and someone might tell you like, oh, well, you told me you deserve this job and you deserve this and you deserve that, and like no one owes you anything. Start there and then work your way back.
Yeah.
And then there's the other type of advice that might be, well, you should probably just be happy with what you got, and so it's like finding the balance, like it's somewhere in between there that the right move is, or the right conversation is to be had with the boss or something like that. And it's like figuring out what that is. But you're right. Like it's so customized to you and exactly what your experience is and exactly what your situation is. So yeah, be smart about who you let into that circle. Cause if you make a wrong move, we talked about the sports industry being small, and say you decide, well, you know what, I'm not going to do that just to show them whatever. And someone told you that was a good idea. And then all of a sudden it's not a good idea and you stop getting the good promotions and all that stuff. Like you're up a creek all by yourself, not the person that gave you the advice. So just be cautious and make moves with your heart, your mind too.
Right.
You know?
Now I'm about to get in my bag. Okay, so because you said it. Okay, so if anyone tells you, because I've actually got told this, that you should just be happy where you are. And you know what? And like I said, in just spirit of transparency, I think I was told that, you know what, you should just be happy that you're at the Carolina Panthers. Like that's your first job. You should just be happy you're there. Screw
Yeah.
like
No, I deserve to be here.
Full break, stop. Like I'm so happy that I was there. I'm so happy that I got to work under the person who was managing me, and like I got to work with Cam Newton. But at the same time, Sage is not about to be a coordinator for 5 or 6 years. Like there's no money. I need a manager title, and I know where I want to go. So it's like, okay, so I just need to be happy here because of why. Like I did what I needed to do. I learned what I needed to learn. Now it's time for me to go. So whenever someone tells you that you should just be happy to be there, leave. Like that's pretty much simple as that. Leave. Like that's how you know it's your time to go. So
yeah.
Let's see. This is for you, Maria. How has your role as reporter/host evolved over the past few years with the industry changing and social media playing a big role?
Good question. One, I think that being a reporter has informed just about every other part of, like who I am. So as far as being a personality or doing TV is concerned, because being a reporter is the most you will ever be in a situation where nothing is certain. Nothing is guaranteed. Sometimes you can hear your producer, sometimes you can't. You don't know how the coach is going to react to you. You don't know what's going to happen in the game, and you don't know if it's going to rain. You know what I mean? Like there are so many factors that can be going on at once, and that has helped me to become a better host, or in controlled environments, like be better. And I think it just continues to change because now we can have, say, IG lives with another coach or player. So I think relationships have started to mean more, where either are you breaking news, like some reporters have made their way because they're really good at breaking news. You can look at Woj or Adam Schefter and the way that they're able to use social media. And it's not to promote themselves, but it's to get information out there. They're like news gatherers, and that's changed the game. I think too, just being able to be connected with so many different people. I think sometimes before you walk in the room, a coach or a player may have an idea of who you are because of social media, if that makes sense. Right. So deciding who you want to be and putting that person out there, blah, 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 like that's something else that you certainly have to think of. And I think too, for you guys who are just coming up in the industry, you have a tremendous opportunity. Like I tell student athletes all the time, I'm like, if you are not the school's reporter on Twitter, then I don't know what you're doing. If you're not your team's reporter, then you don't report afterwards, because you have all of these opportunities and ways that you could be, creating your own little digital show, or working with your friend on a podcast, or getting interviews yourself. So it's going to continue to change. And I think that there's so many roles that can be filled. It's not going to look the same. Like it might not be a 27, 28-year career on network television, but you might be able to have your own show before I could ever have my own show, which is cool.
Okay. We get 2 more questions because this one is really good. How did you both find your mentors, and how important has that been for you? I guess I can start that one. Maria was actually like my first mentor when I wanted to be on TV. And then like we just grew a friendship. Now I just talk to her about everything.
Right.
But my current mentor, she's a VP at Jordan brand. So she's someone, and she's also a Black woman. So she's someone that I have envisioned myself in, like literally it's her. So I found her at this women's brunch that I went to during NBA All-Star, and I was just like, wow, you're amazing. I was listening to her talk, like even her kicks were fresh. So I was like, okay, so after this, I'm going to talk to her. I got her contact information, and we chatted a couple times before I asked her if she could be my mentor, just, you know, trying to make sure that she's the right person for me, right? And I have not regretted that decision yet. So I remember one day we were having a conversation. I told her about something at work, and like she gave me this auntie look like, did you hear what I just said? Like, did you understand me? And I was like, you know what? You're right. So, and that's how I knew at that moment, was like, oh, I found her. She's perfect.
Right.
So that's pretty much good. What about you?
Similar. It's like, you never know where you're going to meet someone or who's going to be the person to put you in contact with your mentor. But for me, it was my women's basketball coach. His name is Andy Landers. And so when I was contemplating the SEC network deal, he was like, you know who you should talk to? And he's like, Robin Roberts. And I'm like, what? She don't know who I am. Like, how am I going to find her? He's like, I think I have her email.
Yeah.
And literally just like emails her, sends like, I have this girl and she just reminds me of you. And Robin used to live in Atlanta. She used to cover women's basketball and she used to cover Coach Landers all the time. And she literally writes him back and says, I would love to talk to her. Think I've seen her before. I'm about to go work these Grammys, but when I get back, I tell her to send an email to my assistant. And I was like, only Robin could be like, yeah, I got to go get the Grammys though first. And she did. Like, she had her assistant follow up. She called me after a GMA and we sat on the phone and talked for 20 minutes. And she was really honest. And she was just like, listen, you're going to see things happen. You're going to see people get promoted before you, or you're going to see things that feel discouraging, but you can never be discouraged. And no matter what happens, whether you take this job or not, I don't care what you do, but you better show up every day at work and let everyone else feel as though there's no other place you'd rather be. Right. You know what I mean? Like, there's no leeway for you no off days for you. Right. You know, and same thing that you're saying, like, you need someone that's going to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. And I think that she does that. And it's the same thing where it's just like, you know, I got this one situation, and I'd be sending long texts and I'm like, I know she'll get back to me. It might be in 2 days or whatever. And then sometimes I'm like, can you talk right now? And then she'll call. But it's great to have someone that's that interactive. And like you said, like, your VP of Jordan Brand, she's busy, but she makes time. And you got to find someone that's willing to make time. Because it's one thing to like have a name and just be like, oh yeah, that's my mentor. But do you have a relationship with that person? Do you feel like you can reach out? Do you feel comfortable reaching out? Do they feel comfortable giving you real advice? And those are all the questions that are going to make up a great mentorship. And they don't have to be in the same industry, obviously, like your relationship is. So, but it's something that you need. We all need mentors. We all need advocates. Those are two different things. But yeah, make sure you get a mentor. Yeah.
Great child. Let's see. All right, last one. How do you go about navigating the industry when you feel that your relative or related work is becoming further and further into the past? Ooh, girl. Dang, man.
So I feel like that's more me than you, right?
I think so.
Figure it out.
Yeah, you got it, girl.
Don't I barely not have a job anymore?
You got that one.
So I think, no, but for real, you do have to keep industry trends, right? So like, anyone who's working in anything has to understand their industry. And one thing I know for sure is that, and this was, 6-7 years ago when we first started the cord cutting, and it was like the beginning of Netflix and it's the beginning of Hulu, and trying to decide, like, you start to realize that everyone's going to be on their phone. So what can we create? So whether that was me and Holly only going and doing that digital show and making sure, okay, we're going to post all on our stories, or we're going to make sure that it's plastered all over Twitter, then those are the things that we're going to do. But you have to understand that if you're not a jack of all trades in some way, then yeah, your job can be eliminated. So if you decide all I want to do is be a sideline reporter, well, what if one day they decide, we don't really need sideline reporters. We're going to save money by doing Remy games, which means that it'll be a control room with a color analyst and a play-by-play person, and they're going to do it from Bristol. And we don't want to fly anyone there. Yeah. So you need to be able to host, or what are the other things that you could add? And so I think being multifaceted, and that's going to help. And as industries continue to change, you got to keep up. You got to be ahead. You got to read. And I know it's different for you because you're always, basically your job is to be a trendsetter. So I'm just trying to keep up.
Girl, look, I'm trying to tell you, if I don't get caught up with this TikTok stuff, I'm going to be looking for a new job soon too. Okay, last one, and this one is for you. Maria, before we close, what's the best way to connect with you? Hashtag closed mouths don't get fed. Amen.
Yes, nice. I actually have a website, mariataylortv.com. So, and I literally, the box or whatever where you can connect with me goes to an email. Like it eventually gets to me. Like I said, we've been clearing that out and doing podcasts and hooking up interviews. I talked to a high schooler yesterday. I talked to someone who was a college student. Like it fills me up to take some of those calls and have those conversations. It's important, I think, to do it. I hope you guys all do it too when you have the opportunities or when you have time to do something like that to give back. So yeah. And then also follow me at Maria Taylor, IG, Twitter. You know, sometimes I get really responsive on Twitter, mostly on Instagram though. That's when I talk that junk.
Oh my gosh. Cool. Thanks for doing this, girl. I appreciate it.
No, thank you for having me. This was dope. We should probably do it more often, honestly.
We should once I get out my shell a little bit, but we're going to figure it out.
We're going to figure this